Hey, how you doing, AJ? Welcome. How you doing on this fine Friday? It is. It's Friday, man. End of the week for some. All right. It's time. It's time to start. Yep. Yep. I am indeed. I do plan on being there. Excuse me. I was thinking, like a 10-foot truck should be fine, right? All right. Hmm. All right. Hey, Dio, how you doing? How's your day today? Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you being here. And thank you for choosing Wicked Beggar to watch. Are you off on the weekends? Is this your actual Friday? Hmm. All right. Well, we can get started here, folks. What is all this nonsense? All right. All right. All right. All right. I was just rereading some of this U-Haul stuff, man. They're crazy. Crazy people that run these companies, I tell you. Excuse me. Yeah, they're crazy. These guys are absolutely crazy. Okay. Yeah, they try to like get you with like 10 million different things like, "Oh, you want all this stuff? You want this and this? It's just like $5 here, $7 here." It's like, "No, I don't want any of this nonsense. Like if I wanted any of this nonsense, I would have clicked it." All right, give me 1 second, guys, and then we'll start up some games. We'll start up with our draft. These guys are nuts. I was just like reading over their things, like, oh, you just want like all of our insurance stuff here, like, just in case. It's only like $35. So no, that's like as much as they pay for the truck. Anyway. Anyway, here we are. I can actually play some Magic now. So we're going to do a draft today. I figured I got some gems, I might as well. It's Friday, we'll do a little draft, and then we'll jump into some more standard. I'm not quite off of the Sultai deck yet. I think it is pretty good. I haven't found another deck that I'm really like keenly interested in playing besides Grixis, but it just seems like Sultai is just, I don't know. According to my statistics, I have a higher win rate with Grixis than I do Sultai, but I also have a lot more practice with Grixis, and I've also played more games, so it gives us a bit better sample size and a bit more data. So I think it's only fair that I give Sultai a little bit more and see if it works. But I figured we'd start off with a casual draft in Kaldheim. It's not really casual, I guess. They're all kind of competitive, but I take it very casually. All right. Well, nothing screams at me in this pack. I'm not all over the place. It'd be easier if I drafted without a bias towards colors, but it's not how I work, man. Not how I work. I mean, Bergstrider's really good. I also like Sculptor of Winter. Sculptor's quite good. I think I might just take the Sculptor pack one. I mean, I don't care about the Tyrite Sanctum. It can be good, though. It can definitely be good. Just not what I'm looking for. You spend 2 mana, you can make a creature +1/+1 and a god, and then you spend 4 mana and you can make it indestructible. Which, I mean, can be pretty good. Just not that big of a fan. Oh man, Clarion Spirit. Damn. This card's definitely like, you could definitely pack one, pick one this card. I mean, I could even pack one, or, you know, pick 2 it right now. It's an incredibly good card. Mistwalker's great. Behold the this is a pretty good pack. Behold the Multiverse is good. The Glade Warden and the Spirit of Elderguard are both really good. I think we're going to take the Spirit, though. It helps fix our lands for us. So if we're going to end up in multiple color deck, it's quite useful to have. Ice Hydro is good. But here I think we're just going to take the Warden. This card, it's really good once you're getting a little bit later in the game. Can give you that extra big edge to push through and smash. Gives you something to do with your graveyard. It would be nice to be into blue as well. Green-blue is pretty good. I mean, there's also like green-red, there's green whatever, but Ignarunize is pretty solid. This would be, I think, a card that's kind of worth it. It's really good in black, but it's not bad. Not bad with green. There's the Arctic Tree Line. Yeah, it's really close for me right now between Igna and Arctic. I think I'm gonna take the Arctic. Okay. Shimmertriff, Veil, Mistwalker, Augur Raven. Again, this is like a really good pack. I think we'll take the Raven. Excuse me. Take the Raven here. Yeah, we'll take Path. Path works with what we're trying to do. There's also another Sculptor. Excuse me. It's just early enough for us to take the Path, considering. Considering we already have a Sculptor of Winter, and we have now 2 Spirits. Path to the World Tree, it becomes like pretty viable since it's only pack 1 and we have a decent amount of things to get there. Hopefully we find some other good like multicolor payouts. Take the Snowland. Bind the Monster would be good. It sucks that other Berg didn't come back around. We did pass on another Berg, but I took it the Spirit of Asgard over, or Eldergard over that. Again, just helps us find our lands. It can get pretty beefy too. That's a really late Mistwalker. Unless people are like not playing blue, it shouldn't go that late. Let's take a 5/5 bear. I mean, it technically is a bear. Snakeskin Veil, 3rd to last pick is fine. You can protect one of your threats from a removal heavy deck. Nice. Jesper Sentinel came back around too. It's pretty good. So I think maybe we made a good choice picking green early. There's a Valky. I already have 4 of them, so we might as well just pick something that's good for the deck. Sorrel's Packbait is probably the pick. Card's just super good. Not overly excited about much here. We could take Gates of Istval. It is something that we could probably activate if we continue down this path. There's Fall of the Imposter. There's Sigrid as well. But I don't know about splashing double white. I'm gonna play lots of lands. Yeah, nothing too exciting here. I think I'm gonna take the Highland Forest again. We could also take Squash. Vega. There's another Mistwalker too, though. Saw it coming's not a bad option. I think we're gonna grab the Mistwalker here. I really like that Augury Raven. That'd be sweet, but I think we could take Icebind Pillar here. I think we're gonna have enough snow permanents we're gonna be able to make that useful. Great option to take Behold the Multiverse here. Bearded, what's going on? How you doing today? Now, yeah, happy Friday all the way around. People are jacked for Friday. Man, I should take that other Sentinel. We're not going to play too strategic planning. Alright, so we got some snow-covered lands. Alright, we'll take a Saw It Coming. Nice, we'll take this Vega too. Vega's like a pretty reasonable card. Hopefully we find a couple more dual lands. Speaking of which, Alpine Meadow would be good. I think here, though, we're going to take Igna Rune Eyes. I mean, we're already pretty good in the 4 slot. Otherwise, Ravenous Lindworm would be quite good. Yeah, there are a ton of people to try to spread that around to. Alright, so there's a Bergstrider, which would be great. The Arctic Tree Line would be super good too. There's also a Glittering Frost, which I think I'll take. This is really good. There's a chance that might come back around to us, though. We're going to take the Glittering Frost here. It's another Mistwalker, which would be great, but I really want the Shimmer Drift Veil. Take another Packmate here. This card's just really good. Alright. We'll definitely take a Binding of the Old Gods. It's a very reasonable card for us to have. Yeah, I'm serious. I'll play as many pack mates as you guys want to give me. Because I have this in here, they're going to suggest that I play some number of swamps above 1, most likely, but I'll probably just play the 1 because it is snow covered. So we have Shimmer Drift Veil, we have Glittering Frost. We also have like a Jesper Sentinel, so we have ways to produce black mana. Mm-hmm. They just kept, they just kept like coming, and I was like, hey, it's a reasonable 4-drop for me to have. You know what I mean? I could take the Squash here, but I think I'm going to take the Alpine Meadow. The only thing is I don't really have much for for red at the moment. And like white's not incredibly helpful outside of Vega. There's another meadow, but we're gonna take this Lindworm here. It's a really nice, good late. You're haunted, man. Haunted spirits. Frostpeak Yeti's okay. The pick is fine, but we're not really going to be probably pecking in where the pick's going to be that useful. I don't even know if we'll play play Vega. We only have a couple. We only have a couple Foretell cards. Snow-covered Island or Mistwalker? I think we'll take the Snow-covered Island. So unfortunately, I didn't see like a blue dual Snowland, which will get that swamp out of here. You don't need that swamp. Don't need no swamp. Like Vega, we get just to like play for free. So I think a 2/2 flyer that has the upside of being able to draw us cards because like of Seraph Pack Mate. If we're gonna play Saw It Coming, we have that as well. We have Augury Raven, Behold the Multiverse. So we have a few Foretell cards where we can get some payout for it. I don't think we're going to play this. I initially figured that we'd be playing a little bit more red. It's just it itself, providing a red mana does nothing. Its activated ability is great because it can definitely get us a 4/4. But I don't think we want to have that land in here just for that purpose. Probably go up on a forest and an island. The only thing we're really missing in this deck is like some removal. All we have is Binding the Old Gods. We have an Icebind Pillar to lock stuff down and a Saw coming. So we have very limited ways to remove our opponent's threats, which is not great. This deck looks like it's going to be medium. Not that concerned about the 5/5. I don't think it's that great. It's just a 5/5 for 5. We have Ravenous Lindworm to help go up over the top. So I'm going to cut a couple more cards here. All the text has disappeared on my cards. So if you don't know what the cards do, you're just kind of on your own there. Interesting. It's a good thing I know what these do, I suppose. Oh, okay. There we go. You are correct. Been having some weird bugs lately. So we need to make 2 cuts here. Snakeskin Veil could be one of them. Yeah, I would say Snakeskin Veil. And then I don't know, it's all pretty close for me. Oops. I think the Depart the Realm can actually be useful in our deck since we don't have a lot of interaction. That's nice to have another source here. So this is all we have for interaction right now. I mean, 3 Sorrel's Packmate was great. This card is fantastic. Maybe we cut one of these 4-drops. I mean, Behold the Multiverse is not really a 4-drop. Neither is Augury Raven, to be fair. Those are some you're probably more likely going to play around then. Otherwise, Behold is something you'll probably play a little bit later, if anything. It's very situational. Yeah, I could remove Jaspera Sentinel as well. I think it's probably the least impactful card in the deck. Maybe you're right. So unfortunately, we didn't see like a lot of opportunity for other payouts and other colors to take advantage of the fact that we can get multiple colors on the battlefield outside of Path of the World Tree. But we have some solid cards. We have lots of ways to draw cards, which is fantastic. We got a big old Ravenous Lindworm. We got ways to ramp up, so hopefully we can do things like multi-spell. Yeah, and we have enough flyers too. I think that we could probably get in through the air game and do something pretty consistently. The Glade Warden can make our flyers bigger towards the end of the game, which is pretty nice. Something like this seems reasonable. Give it a shot. Like I said, I think that at face value this deck appears medium, so we'll kind of see how it does as we go. I did have 18 creatures initially. So I wonder how many creatures I do have. Can I? Yeah, let's find out quick. I think we're down to like 16. Yeah, we're at 16 creatures, so I think it's reasonable. In aggro decks, you're looking for around that same sort of thing. So I think we're okay. Oh yeah, take advantage of Jesper Sentinel. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. Well, let's hope so. I mean, with three pack mates in our deck, we have a very high chance of drawing a pack mate, and that card can really just help you go. So if you have like 2 lands and a pack mate, like that's reasonable. As I say that, we don't see a pack mate. Opponent goes first. It's a little slower. We can't cast this on 2. That's right. We could probably just play land, forest, glittering forest, or glittering frost. So hopefully we're not playing against like mono white and just get beat down really quick. Yeah. Hey, sometimes you draw well, sometimes you don't. Oh, look at that. We drew an island. That's fantastic. That's a nice draw. Alright, opponent foretold on 2, so that's fine. We'll just play our other tap lane and get it out of the way. We just want to resolve Glittering Frost. Yep, there's the nice pack mate. This guy knows what's up. Smashed in the face. I like their lands though, they have good choice in lands. Oh, that's reasonable. Okay, so opponent doesn't have a combat trick, otherwise they would have attacked with the Sorrel Packmate as well. Oh my god. Alright, this is going to get out of control real fast. So here we're just going to smash the Lindworm down. It's a big enough blocker where it can block anything on the board. It'll gain us a little bit of life. The opponent definitely could have removal, but we need to try to impact the board so the opponent doesn't run us over here with a Chariot. It's a good card. So we're just going to play a little conservative here. And we're going to hold up Saw It Coming. So, because we're kind of stable right now. So if we can hold the opponent back from doing something really impactful right now, then we're okay. Alright, so the opponent did nothing. We only have one source of blue, and that's kind of what's hurting us at the moment. Like I said, we have a stable board. So we don't want to give up that stable, because we can take the advantage through the air. So we could swing in with the Lindworm, but they could just trade 2 for 1. So you trade like a token and the Seraph Packmate for the Ravenous Lindworm. Well, you'd block with 2 tokens, but that doesn't really accomplish much. So we could do that, but I think we can just hold here. And then next turn we can start swinging with the Flyers. I think we can grab another blue source here. If the opponent winds up attacking in some way too, if we get a creature in the graveyard, it's not bad, because we have the Lityar Glade Warden. Alright. Dragon Necromancer is quite a good card. It's unfortunate. So the opponent can activate Elvish War Master. They have 3 elves on the battlefield. So now, unfortunately, they get a copy of that with a Draugr Necromancer. Alright, so when we use Behold the Multiverse, we're actually going to draw 3 cards because of Vega, which is huge. And then we can activate the Pilfering Hawk and get rid of the island in our hand for hopefully something more useful. Bounces back to our hand and get our card back. So I foretold the Augury Raven there. That way, one, we could deploy our hand, but also so we could draw a card with it off of Vega. But opponent has 1 card in hand. They're at 8 life. We can pump our Mistwalker 3 times. So next turn we can get in for 5, 6, 7 through the air. So it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, we can't get in with everybody and just win next turn. If we hit another island, we can. But I guess we have Sculptor Winter, so we can actually untap the Glittering Frost and then provide an extra 2 blue mana. So we do have lethal through the air. If the opponent attacks here, we just want to block so we're not dead. Okay, like I said, we just want to make sure we block so we're not dead. While giving the opponent as little threats as possible. So they can pump the elves, so all their elves get +2/+2, so there's 4. There's 4, 7, 10, 14, 15. So we're going to have to block a little bit more. Yeah, I think I'd rather block 3 than that, so... So here we take 4, 6, 10. $16, so I think we'd be 1 damage shy of not dying. Unless they have a way to do like 1 damage to my face. We could also block this with the Sculptor. I think we might as well block with Sculptor. But if we block with the Sculptor and we lose it, then they get to cast it, which gives them 1 blocker, which I think is fine. That's better than us being dead. Yep. We made the appropriate blocks, so we win. It's a good game. Not a lot happened early. We were able to muck up the board enough where the opponent was unable to attack through our big board. Thank you. And we just leveraged our flyers on the opponent as much as possible. I should get like a little sword. I should get a sword. I should get a sword to twirl around. So I don't think we can keep this hand. We don't have anything to play at all, and having it depart the realm doesn't do anything for us. We really need a forest. So I'm going to mulligan out. From bad to worse, eh? Like, we don't need the swamp, but I also don't want to get stuck on 2 lands, but the swamp also activates the Pilfering Hawk, so if we did get stuck on something, we can kind of filter. So it's pretty close between these two. Alright, fortunately we hit a snowland. So we'll play the Pilfering Hawk on 2, and then we can start looting our way to something a little bit more impactful. Packmate's a great draw off the top. So we could have played the Shimmer Drift Veil tapped and then played like the Mistwalker or something like that, but this was the most mana efficient route that we could go. It allows us to deploy the most cards out of our hand. So we both accelerated and put a 1/2 on the battlefield, who lets us loot. So if we're not finding any desirable cards, we can get rid of those. We'll take 3. Oh, we're not concerned about 3 damage. That's pretty good. Depart the Realm would be really nice. Now we can just bounce the token back to their hand. Oh, that works out nicely. Okay, cool. Binding the Old Gods right on cue there. We didn't have a way to deal with that 4/4, so they sacrificed a land and a creature to make a 4/4. We played a card and destroyed it, so that was huge for us. They're going to equip this to the Battlefield Raptor, which is fine. Next turn we have a Mistwalker we can play, and then we can start blocking the Battlefield Raptor. So unfortunately for 1 turn, they're going to get through here. Alright, we're going to hold here, because now we can effectively block the Battlefield Raptor, unless the opponent has removal, which they do. They got a 3/6 cat. So we have a nice Mind Pillar that we can start locking down one of their big threats with here, and then we have the Gates of Isfel, so we can gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Your 3/6 is outmatched by my 8/4. Even if they, for some reason, equip the pickaxe to the Guardian, I'll take the trade. see what we can do here. Pass turn here. We're starting to gain a little bit of ground here, a little bit of control. So we gave the opponent the 2/2 there, which is fine. The 2/2 is less of a threat than the than the initial 3/3, but it also puts a creature in our graveyard for Lajara Glade Warden, so we can pump up the Spirit of Elderguard and start smashing in with that. The opponent has, I mean, they had to have drawn something impactful because they are really considering their option here. So we do have Saw coming up just in case. Give ourselves an additional blocker with Mistwalker, and now we have Saw coming primed and ready, as well as Icebine Pillar. We're trying to smash him in the side. So we want to hold Saw coming for a card that's going to change the overall flow of the game. So anything that's going to impact us in like a really negative way, we don't want to deal with. And 11-6 is a real threat that they have to be concerned about. And now we just play the control game. Like if they had like a Doom Scar, you know, we want to counter that because then our board would just get wiped and we'd be screwed. This is lethal, so they do have to block. Nope, they just gave up. They said no. Like, listen, man, I'm not dealing with this nonsense. You just take the win. We're not going to try to fight through this anymore. But we started off at five cards, so it's a pretty good rally there. We made some good choices. We were able to hold the opponent off of their game plan. Took a lot of damage, but like I said, as the Magic Helper always says, winning at 1 life is the same as winning at 20, and it is. Use your life total as much as you can. See, it'd just be cool if I had a sword instead of a finger. It's not a great hand, but we can keep it. We can make Shimmer of Veil be blue. Saw it coming, we can foretell on 2. And then on turn 3, we could play the Icebind Pillar. It is a bit slow, but I don't necessarily want to mulligan down to 6 and get a significantly worse hand. I think that this is a fine 7, though it's not great. Obviously changed my mind about the Saw It Coming because Sorrel's Packmate is just incredibly good. Unfortunately, opponent has mono flyers, and we don't have a lot of non-flyers right now. Opponent has the perfect flyers deck. If opponent has like the Warhorn Blast, obviously we just lose. Alright, unfortunate, we needed to hit some Mistwalkers here. Not much we can do there. Opponent drew better than we did. Sometimes that's how it goes.
It was awful, you guys. It was so vicious and hateful.
Still got a couple shots here. If we can get like two more wins with this deck, I'd be satisfied. If we can get 3, I'd be, you know, overly satisfied. Yeah, I mean, we can keep this. If we hit a land next turn, then we'll probably play Sculptor. If we don't hit a land, then we'll play Path to the World Tree. Again, hopefully we hit a land here. It would be nice to play Sculptor. It would have been nice to play Sculptor and then foretell Ace Ralph's Packmate as well. Unfortunately, we did not. We can take 2 here. So we have to try to hit our land drop here. There we go. Sorrel's Packmate getting the job done. Opponent playing mono blue, huh? So opponent could have like a counter spell if they have 5 mana available to them. Other than that, they might be able to flash in that giant, I think is 5 mana, that comes in tapped. So we'll run out another Packmate here. If they counter that, that's okay. We have the Mistwalkers and stuff that we want to be able to resolve to ensure that we can stay alive. We hit our land drop, which is great. Again, the Packmate doing its thing. So we could foretell the Raven here, but I'm actually going to hold up Depart the Realm. So if the opponent opts to do something a little bit aggressive, that way we have Depart that we can kind of just interact with the board a little bit, slow them down, since we are off to a slow start ourselves. Yep, Glimpse of the Cosmos is pretty good. They're going to be able to cast it again because this is a shapeshifter, and this counts as a giant, so they'll be able to cast it again for 1 mana. Okay, Spirit is fine. We too have a Spirit. Which is what we'll deploy this following turn. Alright, getting the Augury Raven there is good, that way we can deploy it for 2. It'll start mucking up the air a little bit. So we still have a lot of gas, we just need to hit a black land and we can activate Path of the World Tree, or we'll be online to activate Path of the World Tree, which we can actually do with Spirit of Eldegard, because we can use Depart the Realm and bounce the Spirit of Eldegard back to our hand, replay it, and grab the swamp. Not bad. We're in an okay spot. Okay. Yeah, usually run ashore, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the usually run ashores are like better, like that didn't do anything, right? Like the opponent didn't have attacks to get through. It didn't change the state of the board really for the opponent at all. It's you know, it's usually a bit better when you can make an impactful play, like swinging in for a bunch of damage to put the opponent on a clock, or um, maybe defensively if like we have an overpowered creature with a lot of counters. I don't think that was the best use of run ashore there. Because we definitely could have chosen to put the Mystery Walker on top of our library. Okay. I mean, the opponent just allowed us to draw a ton more cards, so that's good. So now we're gonna have a large card advantage over the opponent. And they can cast the giant again too. Like they're just they're gonna bounce like this card and this card. Like it doesn't really do anything for the opponent. We're at the gates of Ispell. We can drop next turn too, which will help us pad our life total. And we have enough snow permanents now too. If we play the Spirit of Elderguard, that we can actually just kill the Cyclone Summoner. I'm assuming they have. I'm assuming they have Saw coming in their hand. We don't need to activate the Path of the World tree right now either. Now here we just want to start to, deploying like all of our big threats and just start getting in. We're falling into a low card count in our library, so we have to be able to apply strong pressure to the opponent. Okay, so the opponent didn't fall for anything. Here comes the saw coming. Yep. Deploy the birds. So I think it was incorrect for the opponent to, unless they have a way to do something, it was kind of incorrect for them to attack with a Cyclone Summoner. Like we traded 3 for 1, but we drew 3 cards. So it wasn't like a bad exchange for us in any means. Normally getting 3 for 1 is terrible, but 3 for 1 and then drawing 3 cards this late in the game when I have like all the mana that I could possibly want. So here we're in a situation where we can actually start blocking the Icehide Troll with our Seraph Packmates. So they can pump this 1, 2, 3 times. I think that's a little bit more damage than we want to take. Yeah, actually, I think that's fine. So we have the Gates of Isfel and we have the Path of the World Tree, both ways that we can gain some life. Like I said, we're getting pretty close though. They're down to 12 cards, but we're down to 8. Berg Strider's pretty good. Should have blocked the other way. The pack mate to the old growth, it would have prevented 1 additional damage. Yep. It's a good game though. Very good game. I also made a misplay there. I should have pumped the one Mistwalker that was blocked by the other Mistwalker, because then we could have sacrificed Path to the World Tree and killed them. Killed the Mistwalker, not the opponent, obviously. They were at 15. We can keep this. I think we have a pretty good chance of drawing a forest. And we also have things to do up until that point, so I think we'll be okay. we hit our fourth land, we'll play Igna Runize. That way we can scry 3 and make sure that we hit our additional lands. Okay, so we didn't, which is unfortunate. We could have countered that there, but I don't know if Augury Raven was worth return. This opponent's probably playing like mono removal. So again, not hitting land. Doesn't feel great. This is a fine hand to keep. Like, this is a perfectly reasonable hand to keep. We're just unfortunately getting boned on our lands. Feels bad countering now free, but not a lot we can do at this point, especially since we're not hitting lands. One land turns us on, right? Well, anything but that land. So we're actually going to keep Binding of the Old Gods on top because we'll have Highland Forest. So on the following turn, again, we have to wait, which is unfortunate. But on the following turn, we can play Spirit of Eldergard, and we can go find a black source for Binding the Old Gods. We'll block. They're just gonna pump it, or they're just gonna boast so they can get back now free. They could have a frostbite and kill the Mistwalker too, which would be unfortunate, but we have to play to our strengths here and to our outs. And currently, those are playing a very long, slow game. So we'll take 4 from the Draugr here. So the unfortunate part about the Draugr Recruiter here is even if they attack and like with Nafri and we kill Nafri, they can activate the Draugr Recruiter at any point that they've attacked. So they can wait for Nafri to die and then return it to their hand with the Draugr. And now that they have 3 Snowlands, they can just bring Nafri back to their hand or to the battlefield tapped anyway. Man, the opponent's deck is crazy. That's a good combo. Nafri plus Immerstorm Predator. We have to wait for an opportunity to kill Immerstorm Predator. Unfortunately, waiting is a very difficult thing to do because they have the ability to make it indestructible. Plus, whenever it becomes tapped, they put a +1/+1 counter on it. So when they attack, it'll be a 4/4. And then they can just keep sacrificing Nafri to give it indestructible almost infinitely. So the window of opportunity for us to take out Immerstorm Predator is very, very small. Okay, so this helps out a little bit. We have Depart the Realm and Binding the Old Gods now. So what we can do here, if we need to, I mean, I assume the opponent's going to have more threats to play, right? So this is going to get a little bit more difficult, but what we could do is nothing since they have Frostbite. We're going to take... Oh yeah, we're dead. The opponent just had all the answers there. Can't beat perfection, guys. Can't do it. We also got stuck on lands for like 3 turns, so without that happening, I think we win that game. Because we definitely have all the things to beat that opponent. So 2 wins is really unfortunate. I think that the deck is significantly better than 2 wins, but sometimes variance is not on your side and you lose. Alright, that's good. I'll take 2 rare wild cards.
It was awful, you guys. It was so vicious and hateful.
Alright, well then, looks like we'll move on to some standard. So, not bad though. We played some really good games, played some good Magic, so... I'm going to grab a refresher in my drink and I'll be right back. Okay, we're here. We're back. So yeah, draft. Unfortunately, we didn't get as many wins out of the deck as I think was possible. But I think that we played good Magic, which is the important thing. Recognizing the mistakes that you make and then try not to make them in future things. And like I say all the time, sometimes you can make the perfect play every single time in Magic and still not win the game. So, anywho, so we're going to move on. We're going to play the Saltine Noodle Pile. We don't care about all those rares and stuff that we just got. They're all kind of poopy. But yeah, here's the pile. Oh wait, hold on. Someone's knocking at my door. I'm sorry, guys. Alright, seems to be that they had the wrong place. Anyways, sorry, we're here. Salty Noodle Pile hasn't changed. I still think that this layout is pretty good. Like I said, I think we're at like a 56% win rate with it, so it's not bad. That's obviously not a bad win rate. It's positive. It's not as high as my Salty win rate, but or sorry, as my Grixis win rate, but I also haven't played as many games with this yet, so I have a very small sample size to see the actual statistics. Well, if somebody's bold enough to come to my house and murder me in the middle of the day, then I guess kudos to them. It's a ballsy move, we'll say that. Also, I'm going to plug my other stream. So, the other night, for anybody that tuned in, I was streaming a game called Hades. It's a roguelite hack and slash. Yeah, a roguelite hack and slash. Super cool graphics, like pretty cool story, lots of replayability. Hopefully, it's a roguelike. But it has all those great things, and I've been enjoying the game so much, and I've actually been doing some cool runs. I've gotten my time down pretty loaded, like 20 minutes. I'm gonna start doing some speed runs of that if anyone's interested. We can't keep this. This is no bueno. This is more keepable. I'll probably just put back the Valky here, and then we'll go Triome. Probably Triome into Forest to Wolfwillow Haven. We're probably playing an aggro deck, so it is good that we have Heartless Act here. Yep, they got the Ferv. So not a great starting hand for us. Well, starting hand against aggro, I should say. Especially when it's looking like the opponent's probably just going to curve out. That's exactly what we needed. Alright, we get an extinction event, so that's good. I can't believe we just pulled off a Seagate Resto against Mono Red. And we're not dead. So we have enough mana to buy Yorion this turn, and then we can blink Binding of the Old Gods if we wanted to. Just doing that, we want to get more lands on the battlefield. We're looking for a emergent ultimatum here. I guess we're just hard casting all of our cards this game. We're going to end turn here. We have a negate and a Heartless Act that we can hold up in case if the opponent's going to threaten lethal here. There we go. Exactly what we talked about. So anyways, here we're going to bring out the negates. We're going to bring in the Crippling Fear and 2 Chainweb Arachnirs. Chainweb Arachnirs can act as early game blockers if we need to, and plus they're a recurring creature, so when they come back as a 4/5, which is a very reasonable blocker against red. We do hit them with their own Shadows Verdicts and Extinction Events, but that's fine. Like, we don't really care about Chainweb Arachnir, so if it dies and gets exiled, whatever, it doesn't matter. The goal is just to kill all of their stuff and stay alive. We got really lucky in our top decks last game, though. Like, we top decked into a Shadow's Verdict, which was perfect. So we just wound up hitting everything that we kind of needed there, which was good. Well, you can't keep this hand unless you want to lose. This we can keep. Opponent goes first, so it's a little harder because we are playing against mono red and they're on the play. So we don't get that advantage of being able to play our land first. So turn one, we're going to have to Fabled Passage for a swamp, and then we can play probably the forest, and that way we can eliminate something. So we're playing from behind at that point, right? Cultivate can actually be quite good here. I think we put back Binding, though. So, because they have the advantage, they play 1 mana, 1 drop. Okay, so we got lucky. They didn't have a 1 drop. And we also got lucky we drew another removal spell. So, two things have gone our way. Opponent didn't have a 1 drop, and we hit a second source of removal. Fireblade Charger is reasonable. Since they didn't do anything like really that threatening here, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to ramp up this turn. We have a Shadow's Verdict, so if we can actually cast Cultivate at a reasonable time and grab another swamp, we'll be in a really good spot with Shadow's Verdict in our hand. In the following turn, they can start activating Faceless Haven, at which time we have spot removal to get rid of Faceless Haven. We just gave them another creature, which is fine. So we need to look for a swamp. We want a forest here too. I think if the opponent plays correctly here, what they should do is activate Faceless Haven and attack. Because, holy shit, that's gonna hurt. Well, I was gonna say because the opponent knows that we have sweepers. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, he's a 4 CMC, and we're probably just gonna lose. But because they activate Faceless Haven, so they got us. They got us with him. The opponent bone crushing us there in the middle of combat was just them exercising their frustration that they lost the first game against us, and they're trying to display their mono red dominance because they're like, yeah, we just played a couple small creatures and attacked a couple times. So they wanted to exert dominance with their simplistic deck. We can keep this. These are the type of hands you want. You just want tons of removal. So we'll take one from the Charger. So that's fine, because this turn we just call odd and we get a 2 for 1. Now the opponent might have that same card, the 4-drop that comes in, which is very reasonable for them to have. All right, they got a Torb, so Torb's fine with me. Unfortunately, we missed our land drops, and that's not something you want to do. We just need double blue, which is the downside here. Yep, unfortunately missing land drops. Like, if we're hitting our lands here, we'd be in a great spot. But yep. It's going to help us find our land. They'll probably activate Faceless Haven again. Now we're in a really tight spot, but again, it just came down to the fact that we didn't have any land. We haven't been hitting our lands. So it's hard to win games when you don't have lands. Here we're just going to pass the turn because we need to be able to kill the Faceless Havens, otherwise we lose. So we're going to take 2 here. And now we're just dead. We're dead to the Faceless Haven. So the correct, like, normally the correct move there would be to just wait and not use the eliminate on the annex. But the issue is there is, like, we didn't have land anyway to do what we needed to do. So unfortunate, we lost to the mono red, my least favorite deck type in the entire planet, on the entire planet. I respect more like mono red decks that have like a lot of spells in them, because a lot of times there's like a lot of decision making that has to go into them based on like whether you go to the face or whether you go to like you know, a planeswalker, or if you have to remove creatures to get through. Those types of decks I respect, because like there's tons and tons of decision making that goes on regularly, and I just feel like the decision making process in a just play your creatures and tap them sideways is so minimal that it's, I don't know, I guess I don't respect the mono red creature decks. Cool. Alright, they're hellhounding the hell out of this. There's a good chance we just die. Especially if they had like a fabled passage. Hey, Gaiman, how you doing, man? Welcome, welcome. It's nice to see you. Thanks for the biddies. Thanks for the 5 bits. Getting the biddy donations started. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate the lurk as well, friend. Hopefully the Tomb Raider games are going well for you. Awesome. That's good to hear. They're incredible games, and they're visually stunning as well. So it's cool that you decided to play through those. All right, so we have a lot of removal now. Magic's going okay. It's going okay. Not winning as many games as we like, but we're learning, you know? As long as you're learning while you're playing the game, like, it's still winning. Yeah, I mean, I learned a long time ago from playing Magic that if you go into everything expecting to win, you're just going to be disappointed and you're not going to have any fun most of the time. But if you go in with an expectation of learning how to play the game better and learning from your mistakes, you'll find that 1, you're not only growing as a player, but 2, you're also winning more games because of it. So. This opponent's just going to shock us in the face until we die. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And I appreciate the Zelda sound alert too. Alright, so the opponent's not doing too much. So we'll see if the opponent has a way to deal 10 damage to our face this turn. Nope. So I get what they're trying to do there. It's kind of cute, I would say. I don't think it's great. Thank you. Thanks again for the more 5 biddies. Just trying to overtake Randy Jam as the bit donator. So this is not ideal, but we can keep it. We can play Seagate Resto and Jawari's Disruption as lands. Play the Forest if we're not dead yet. Cultivate for 2 swamps so we can cast Shadow's Verdict. So it's not a great hand against them. We could mulligan this because this is a very narrow window of success. But I don't know if we mulligan if it's necessarily going to be any better. So I think we're gonna keep it. Like I said, it is slow. The opponent got stuck on lands last game, so we don't really know all of what's in their deck, besides the fact that it seems they're just trying to be hyper aggro. Alright. The second verdict. But again, I much appreciate you being here. I really, really do. So a little slow, like you said, but we do have a shot. We also hit a single, we hit a forest here. So we definitely want to search for 2 swamps. But it might be too late by then. Oh no, it's next turn, right? So it shouldn't be too bad. It's a big hit. We're down to 3, so likelihood of us living through this next turn is very slim. Especially since we know the opponent's running a lot of shocks and Bone Crusher Giants in their main. So we're only 2 spells away from dead. Good news is we can ultimatum next turn. So if we do live through this turn, like if they cast their companion here or something, maybe they have the 1-drop plus a land. But if they cast their companion here, oh, they got it. Damn, they hit exactly the card they needed to win. Had they not hit that, we would have been able to ultimatum and possibly come away with the game. But again, that's a pretty narrow shot. And with the more bits, 15 more bits. Well, I appreciate you spending the last of your bits here. It is much appreciated. Know that. It's probably the most appreciated, as if you would have donated them anywhere else. So, a reasonable starting hand. This time we actually have removal for the opponent's things, which is quite nice. Okay, so that was a fortunate draw for us, because now we can just play this down and at least block if we need to here. Yeah, it's much appreciated. All support is always appreciated, whether it's 1 bit or 100 bits, whether it's a lurk, a follow, or a subscribe. Here we're just going to hold. We have Heartless Act and 2 Heartless Acts that we can try to resolve in case if the opponent does something I don't like. Unfortunately, we're hitting all blue lands, which is not great for us. We're going to take that because we can actually transform Valky into that, which will help fix our mana problems here. And they don't yet have removal, so unless they top deck removal, we can activate Valky next turn, which they didn't. So that's big for us. Hey, thank you, thank you. So we are going to attack here because we just want to make that treasure token. So it's unfortunate the opponent's going to get in, but they're probably going to deploy their the Phoenix of Ash here, and they're going to get in for a large chunk of damage. But we can Shadow's Verdict after that, and then we can just kind of hold back, you know? 12 damage is a lot. Oh, sorry, we're down to 2. So I wanted to play that out there. Normally I wouldn't, but I wanted to play it out there in case if they draw a haster, we're not just dead. We're dead to a lot. We're dead to probably 8 cards in their deck. Here we're just going to attack with the Goldspan Dragon. So, unless they top deck exactly removal, which, again, they could, we have the victory through the air next turn. Got him. Nice. Good victory there. Good win. Alrighty. Nice big W there. So what we're going to do, we're warmed up today. Let's get a little prediction going on for anybody that's hanging out in chat. Yeah, big ol' win. Alright. You guys got a minute to put up your projections there. Gamble away some of those channel points you've earned. If you get to see my hand before the timer expires, you can make that choice then. If you want to try to wait, well, luckily for you guys, you'll have some time here to predict still. You got about a minute, and you get to see my opening hand, so that's good for you. We're going to take the play. We don't have any green lands, but we do have an Omen of the Sea. We are playing probably against an aggressive deck, so the Extinction Event and Binding the Old Gods is pretty good. So overall, I think that this is a keep here. So we're playing against adventures. It's pretty good. I think we stand probably the best chance against adventures out of most of the aggro decks. It's either adventures or Gruul that we probably stand the best chances against. So there's the forest that we want. Hopefully they play like another 2-drop, and then that way, okay, they did. So now when we call Extinction Event, they probably have, yeah, Passageway, so, or Fabled Passage, so this is going to hurt. But the upside here is that on turn 4, we can just play Extinction Event and clear the board. Like being at 10 is better than being dead, right? Let's hope so. I hope that we can get a W here. But this is where we need to start pulling away with the game. So, all right, so that's good for us. That's not what we want to draw, but so binding's really good for us there. The opponent could have like a questing beast or something that they throw down as well. All right, it's just a love struck beast. We could very easily be dead to an Ember Cleave here, though. Nope, they have a Great Henge. Good news is that we should be able to pull off our Emergent Ultimatum this turn, and that'll kind of give us the big edge here. Alright, so we want to definitely make them choose for Elrond's Epiphany. We're going to do a Shadow's Verdict. And Vorinclex. Okay, perfect. We have a Shadow's Verdict in our hand, so we got everything out of that we wanted. I guess we can actually just play, we could play this, because it's going to tap all their permanents for 2 turns, and I don't think that they can get in for 10 next turn. Sounds good. If they play another threat too, we do, like I said, we have a Shadow's Verdict, so we're okay. Alright, Questing Beast is reasonable. pretty nasty. Then blinking Vorinclex and getting an additional counter too. It's just pretty nasty. So here it's about the same. We want to bring in the Crippling Fear and the Chain Web Arachnirs, and we want to cut the negates out. It's usually like the most common way that we do things. It's just it's a pretty solid sideboard plan against the opponent. There's not really much else that we can do against them. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can leave these out and then just bring in like, because the negates are actually kind of good, right? There's plenty of spells that we can hit with it, including like an Ember Cleave. If they do play the Naya version, you can get the Showdown on the Scalds. You can also counter the front side of all the adventure cards that they play, which effectively removes a spell and a creature from them, which is cool. It's one card, it's 1 for 1, but they get value out of their 1 cards, you know. Okay, so this is a pretty good starting hand for us. We have 3 lands, which is good. We have an Omen of the Sea to try to find our 4th. We have Crippling Fear, so we can sweep the board on 4 as long as we hit a second Black Source. And then we also have Shadow's Verdict to again sweep the board on 5. So they do have a 1-drop Edgewalling Keeper. That's not good for us. When the opponent mulls down to 4 or 5 cards and then they have an Edgewalling Keeper, it's not as great for us because then all they have to do is cast a spell and they're going to get those cards back, right? Alright, so we hit all the black lands that we need. So I think here we're just going to play the tap land and get it out of the way. Because the one thing that the opponent's not... Okay, they just hit their red source. The one thing the opponent wasn't doing and hasn't done yet, maybe they will on turn 3 here, is apply pressure to us. So... I think we'll cast Omen of the Sea here during their end step and try to set up our next draw, and then we'll wind up Crippling Fear. The downside here is that they could have a Questing Beast. They don't. That's fantastic. If they had a Questing Beast here, then we would probably lose this game. So we just have to stay alive and be able to cast Emergent Ultimatum before they can kill us with Klothys. We're playing Sultai Noodle Pile. We're playing the Sultai Noodle Pile today. So the choice is, do we want to just sweep the board and get rid of this 3/3 so they're not putting pressure on us, or do we want to buy Yorion? The goal is next turn we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can ultimatum next turn. So I think we're going to Crippling Fear now and just get the creatures out of the way so we don't take any more damage. Yeah, it's Sultai Ultimatum. Yep. Sultai Pile. Okay. Alright, so here we're probably going to want to take Vorinclex, Alrund's Epiphany, and Valky. Sounds good. Yeah, I know. There's just been an infinite amount of snow lately. Wow, we have 4 lands. So if we can ult Valky this next turn, that'll be pretty good for us. But we could also just lose in this turn. Yeah, they got a questing beast. That's unfortunate. It's a really good top deck. Really good top deck there by the opponent. They had 1 card in hand and then drew into questing beast, which is nuts. We'll keep this here. We'll snatch a forest right away. Alright, so we draw a Wolf Willhaven, which is great, or an Eliminate, which is actually pretty great here. Bone Crusher's reasonable. So if we play the forest to put this here, that's 2, 4, 5. Oh no! It tapped incorrectly. That's not what we wanted. I shouldn't have trusted the auto tapper. I saw it in front of my face and I didn't trust it, and I didn't recognize it. They tapped down my black source, which was absolutely ridiculous because we needed the black source so we can cast Shadow's Verdict and wipe the board here. So that was highly unfortunate because that was going to account for the 3 extra damage that I was going to take from smashing in Seagate Resto, so we can emerge an ultimatum on the following turn. It was really unfortunate.
It was awful, you guys. It was so vicious and hateful.
Alright, I'll run that. Then we need our Vorinclex. Am I passing it? Where's the old Vori? There he is. We have a Soul Shatter in our hand here. That way we can make them sacrifice whatever they play. And then we have Lethal Through the Air with Yorion and the 2/1/1s. We did it! We did it! Guess who was correct? Let's get that all settled up. Win or lose, we win. There you go. Congrats to whomever voted for me to win that match. Gaming with Steven, thank you. Thank you for choosing to do so. It's a good W there. They said Gruul, or the Adventures deck, whether it's Gruul or Naya or whatever the color combination is that they're choosing to play, is one of, I wouldn't say it's a favorable matchup for us, but compared to other aggressive decks, it's favorable. Mono white, mono red's a lot harder for us to beat. So that was pretty good. Good call, guys. Good call. We'll take the play. Again, probably playing against an aggro deck, so the Extinction Event's good. Valky can be pretty good if we play them early. We can keep this. We'll play this as a 4. Well, we'll probably play this first. We'll grab a black land, and then we'll play this as a forest, and then we can play the Wolf Willow Haven on top of it. Alright, so we're probably playing Rakdos. Means in game 2 we're probably going to get duressed. They can take Valky, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. You take 2. This is a pretty tough choice. Probably get Bone Crusher. No? Okay. That was my expectation there. They probably are playing Goldspan Dragon, so it's something we have to look out for in turn 5. So I'm casting this now just so we can have a look and see what we're gonna draw. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're gonna put the Triumph on the bottom and we're gonna draw 2. Binding the Oligoths is a fantastic draw. Here we're just going to hold up Heartless Act. So we have the option of either running out Kiora. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can blink Kiora with Yorion and get another 8/8. I assume that they might have another Rankle. Like, that was a very real thing. Nice. That was enough to make him scoop. Nice, nice, nice. So, against Rakdos, our main deck is actually just pretty good against them. Like, Shadow's Verdict takes care of all their threats as well. Well, minus like 1 or 2. But Extinction Event can grab the other. Soul Shatter is actually pretty decent for their bigger threats. All of our removal is good. Negate doesn't do that much against them. Dispute does nothing. Duress isn't worth it. Crippling Fear misses a lot of their targets. Chainweb Arachneer is marginal, but it really doesn't do much against them. You could make a case for bringing in like a chain web or two over a negate. Maze Mind Tomb, the game is just a little bit too aggressive generally for Maze Mind Tomb to be really effective for us. Though the life padding can be nice, so what I'm probably going to do here is cut down on the couple negates and do Chain Web Arachneer. Just because, again, it's a recurring threat. They do play some number of flyers that we can wind up killing with it, and it's probably better positioned than a negate. All right, sure. Well, the opponent wanted nothing to do with that. They just said, nope, not dealing with this guy again. They didn't see their perfect opening hand, so they quit. It's something I notice a lot about on Arena as well. Like from all my years of playing Paper Magic, you know, up until this last year and a half is when I really started just jamming Arena. Well, like 12 months or so, pretty much since the pandemic started. Anyways, people just didn't scoop in real life this much because it's like the convenience of just sitting at home and clicking buttons and you can just jump into another game. You know, people just like scoop all the time. People just scoop all the time prematurely when they still have legitimate shots at winning the matchups or like winning the game in general. And you don't get that in real life because like people, there's a time commitment that people spend to go somewhere. Sometimes you pay money to play in the tournaments or, you know, to play against other people. So like there's an actual commitment that you put into it, which, you know, it made it worthwhile where people just weren't scooping. But here, I'm not complaining. Like I'll take a win where I can get wins for sure. But it is just interesting. I don't know how you're out of fanfares. I don't know why you only get like a limited amount. So we're playing the mirror match. That makes Heartless Act not very good, and that makes Valky not very good. But it is like a slow, grindy match, so I think that we can keep this and maybe draw into something. The opponent's hand is better than ours. On turn 3, the opponent can't do anything really besides cultivate. But we wanted to... we could have countered the Omen of the Sea, I guess is what I'm saying. But if they have a green land, like their biggest play here is to cultivate on turn 3. So they didn't have it, which is unfortunate. I don't mind that I shocked a land in to get that done either, because, oh man, we're just drawing dead cards here, guys. So most all of these cards here are kind of useless. The Shadow's Verdicts are useless. Valky's not great. The only time Valky's like marginally okay is in matchup 2 if you can play it on turn 2 and get like their Yorion, because we don't really play any other creatures, right? So it's like if you can snag their Yorion, there's value there. But other than that, there's not much to playing it. So opponent's not hitting ramp either, so we were in a perfect position to be ramping here. We're not, but I also don't see any green lands, and I don't know why they're playing Temple of Enlightenment, so they are just playing blue-white here. So we are going to take this opportunity and try to resolve Valky. That way we can just see what's in their hand. If they want to use a counter spell on this, this is totally fine. It's not like a high impact play for us. But it also now gives us information, and that's exactly what we wanted. So now we can see, so they are playing just blue-white control. So they have 2 counter spells, 2 board wipes. These are dead cards against us, but however, the Behold the Multiverse is pretty good. Hey, no problems, no problems. Like if they want to spend turn 5 taking care of Valky, it's not that big of a concern of mine. That's what I don't like right there. As soon as they foretell a card, it disappears from the rest of your, like the rest of your hand disappears. That's known information that I would have in real life. We know that they either, like this is either now glimpse or foretell. I should still have that information. Though this is played face down, if I know what's in your hand, if you have 1 foretell card, then it's very telegraph what you have. So I don't think it's appropriate that Arena flips your cards off and you can't see them. I highly, highly dislike that. All right, talk to you later. Thanks, Steven. Thanks for stopping in. So game 2, we're gonna board in the Maze Mind Tomes, the Duresses, the Mystical Disputes, and the Negates. There is a case to be made for us to bring in there's a case for us to bring in Chainweb Arachnir as well. So we have enough mana now where we can ultimatum. Now clearly we can't just straight rip ultimatum because the opponent will counter it. They have a Disdainful Stroke, they have a Saw It coming, and now they're about to gas up with a couple more cards. So it's just going to be us picking a prime opportunity in which we can resolve Emergent Ultimatum in order to win the game. So one of the big weaknesses to blue-white control, under most circumstances, not all circumstances, but in a lot of circumstances, is they have trouble dealing with something once it's resolved. There are things like cast out and stuff in historic, but in standard the options get a little bit fewer. They can deal with creatures, but like a resolved enchantment, resolved planeswalkers, those become a bit more difficult for the opponent to deal with. Is Doomscar instant or sorcery? I think it's a sorcery, right? Yeah, it is a sorcery. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to run down the Yorion. So there's 2 options here. They're either going to counter it, which is a mistake, or they wait till their turn and Doomscar for 3, right? So if they Doomscar down to 3, that leaves them 3 mana plus maybe the one that they play is 4. So it might give the opponent an option to do something. We also now get another look at the opponent's hand, and we can see exactly what they have going on. Okay, so we can take the Archon Sun's Grace. They're playing the full package. They got ECD. They have at least 1 Doomscar here, and they have a Saw It Coming, are the 2 cards that they have here. So they have a board wipe here and a counterspell here. So now hopefully they take this opportunity to play their Archon. Okay, so they're smart. They're a smart player. If they weren't patient, they would have played the Archon there, and if they would have let us cast Emergent, they would have just lost the game. So we don't care about the 1/1. That's not going to kill us anytime soon. The big thing for us here is that we do have 2 Heartless Acts in our hand. So if they do play the Archon, we're in a position in which we can kill the Archon. And then if they have counter spells, we have a second one as well. Interesting, the opponent chose not to attack there. We can't cast the backside of Valky or Tibalt because we don't have the mana for it. Getting into the long control match. Try to thin our deck a little bit more, start hitting some more impact cards. The downside is that they play like tons of counter spells, and we don't play as many counter spells as they do. So this is going to be a very, very long grindy matchup. So now we'll play Valky. Look at it, like, we're never going to resolve the spell for the rest of the game. Like, for the rest of the game, we're not going to resolve a single spell. They have 2 negates, they have it 1 disdainful stroke, and then they have at least 1 saw it coming here. They haven't cast these as draw cards yet, and they've had plenty of opportunity to, so these are either Doom Scars or saw it coming. So we have a Beligod recovery. So we're going to fire off the Emergent Ultimatum here. We're going to let them counter that, obviously. And then we'll wind up using Beligod recovery on it. This is about the only way that we're going to be able to beat these matchups. Is like we're just going to have to force through threats on board until they're out of answers for them. The problem is they do have ECDs in the deck, so they're going to be able to take away most things that we're trying to do. Opponent just has infinite amount more interaction than we do. This is awful.
It was awful, you guys. It was so vicious and hateful.
It is. Opponent is just gassing up. Crazy, we haven't seen any of our triumphs this entire game. Somehow we've just drawn all single and double face lands. And they were about to give me 2 more. Get out of here. 3. That's 3 lands. If we hit another one, that's 4 lands. I've drawn a lot of lands. We're never going to resolve that Seagate restoration. Yeah, they're just giving us all the lands. We're not drawing any high impact, we're all drawing low impact cards. The Typhoon will get us here. That was like the other card that they had to draw, because otherwise they weren't going to do anything all game. They were just going to sit there with a handful of counter spells and do absolutely nothing. Like I said, game 2 gets a significant increase in win rate for us because we get to bring in cards like Duress, Disputes, and Negates, and Maze Mind Tomes. All of those things allow us. All those things allow us to win these late game battles that we need to. Brings in a bunch more card draw and a lot more ways for us to counter our opponent's spells. But very unlikely when you're not playing an aggressive deck that you're going to beat like a blue-white control list when they have, 3+ counters in their hand and then card draw. So they set themselves up real nicely. Oh, hey. Thanks, Boiling. I didn't see the follow 2 minutes ago. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Welcome. Welcome to the chat. No. Can't keep this either, unfortunately. So we're going to grab a swamp, but we're not going to be casting Duress for a little while. We know what the opponent's trying to do. They're just trying to make it to the late game, outgrind your resources, and then just play things at the end of the game and win, right? So rather than using your Duress on turn 2 to see what they have in their hand, you want to use it on turn before you're trying to resolve your spells, or the same turn if possible. That helped out with our land significantly. We still don't have that interaction that we're looking for. Alright, so the opponent omened during our combat phase, rather than waiting to the end of our turn. So if we wanted to, in theory, we could duress now and see what the opponent's working with. We're not going to. That's fine. Now we're going to take a little peek-sees and see what's going on behind that wall of theirs. Glass Casket doesn't matter. They have all the negates in the world. Yeah, like this is hard to beat until we find things. So we're going to take the Shark Typhoon. It's the only card that really like matters here. They can't negate this. And they can't counterspell right now, so we're just going to take the opportunity to resolve it, get an extra card off of it. And now we have a 4/5 on board that they currently have no answer for, so we can start pressuring the opponent. We don't want either one of these. Mystical Dispute's good. That was a good draw for us. But unless they top deck ECD, which they very well could have, they don't have an answer for Yorion. Like, I don't know why they have Glass Casket in here. I don't understand. So our opponent's going to play very conservative. You're not going to find them in a situation when they're tapped down very often. So we have to find a prime opportunity in which that we can resolve a big powerful spell. They do have Crawling Barrens now, so if we're not acting, then that means they're going to be able to just sit here and pump up the Crawling Barrens and then have answers for, you know, and just start smashing us in with a giant land. We'll take the negate here. That's totally fine. We are going to play Binding the Old Gods here and just destroy their Omen. They can sacrifice in response, which is totally fine as well. Yeah. If they want to use one of their counter spells on that, that's fine. They're probably not going to swing with the Crawling Barrens this turn, because they would have to use a lot of their mana just to pump it up and make it an effective attack anyway. Alright, opponent didn't like what they saw. They're probably looking for like a ECD or something because they do have the negates. So we have 10 mana, so we could rip off 2 counter spells here. This could be a Saw It Coming. If that's the case, they have enough for all 3 counter spells. And what we could do is play Valky, or play Tibalt, I'm sorry, and then have Negate and Mystical Dispute up. So we would have to battle over it, but I'm not sure it's entirely worth it. So I'm actually going to go for the Seagate Resto right here. They're probably going to negate it, which is a reasonable thing for them to do, but it's going to allow us to be in a position where we can win the counter battle with negates for Tibalt. It's about the best that we can do. Alright, opponent like both cards. Alright, so now we can resolve either Valky or Emergent Ultimatum. I think we do the Ultimatum here. Like, if they give us Vorinclex and the extra turns, they lose. Alright, so what we want Vorinclex to hit the battlefield first. So we want to put that on the top of the stack. Yeah, so the opponent scoop. So it worked out a lot better in our favor that time. We weren't drawing cards like Shadow's Verdict and Heartless Axe and the Extinction. We weren't drawing all this. Instead of drawing all that, we were drawing Mystical Disputes and Negates, which allowed us to win that game. So the opponent had to go for the ECD, though. We took the prime opportunity to resolve a big threat that we knew the opponent didn't have answers to, and then we just leveraged that threat all the way until the end, and you make them do it. It's how you have to be blue-white control. So I'm not excited that we have a Kiora and a Vorinclex in our hand, but we do have some mana. We have a Cultivate, we have an Omen of the Sea, we have things that we can do. Now we have a Duress, which is great. Birth of Meletus is fine. I kind of wish we hit a Wolf Willow Haven or a Maze Mine Tome, but Omen of the Seas are fine. Like we can cast it on their turn, and if they want to counter Omen, they can counter it. Like there's not a lot of bad that happens from them countering Omen, and then we can also cultivate on turn 3. Alright, so the opponent let that resolve, which is really big. If they would have countered, that would be screwed. They could have thought that we had a Mystical Dispute because we did leave the Triome untapped. Alright. I'm assuming they boarded out Glass Caskets at this point. We actually want both of those. And the opponent's just letting us ramp, which is pretty insane. It's like we have a pretty significant mana advantage right now. Like they're on the play, we're +1 land on them, and then on my turn we're +2. Like so we're constantly like at least +1 land ahead of our opponent, which is quite the value. And while the opponent's letting us resolve things, like it's just adding to our board threat, you know. We have that Fabled Duress in our hand, which is great for us. So right now, we're sitting at 7 lands. Next turn, we'd be sitting at 8 if we had an untapped land, which unfortunately we don't. But 9 lands would be like the key thing here, because then we can cast like a 6-drop with Duress and negate backup. That's fine. I don't really want to give them the extra cards, but I don't feel like using our counter spells off on it. Like we have threats that we want to resolve in our hand, so us winning that fight is better than them, like better than us winning this fight, because we have information with Duress, and then they have to make the choice if they want to counter Duress or if they just want to let us pick what card we want to take out of their hand. If they have a lot of redundancy, it's wise to let Duress resolve. If they only have 1 or 2 counter spells, then they'll probably counter it. That's fine. So now we're going to take a look at the opponent's hand. Do we want to make him use both counter spells here is the question. I think so. Because if they use this negate, we're actually in a fine spot, because then we have Kiora, Beast Gods that we can play the following turn. And they'll be able to draw 4 cards off of Seagate Resto. They have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So I think not allowing our opponent to draw 4 cards is better than resolving that and us drawing 2 cards. So we could just jam Vorinclex. It is going to get killed to the Doomscar that they'll have to tap down for, but then we have a Kiora that we can play afterwards. They might as well block because they're just going to use Doomscar anyway. And now we have Maze Mind Tome on the battlefield, so we can start drawing cards for 2 mana each turn, which is great. But if the opponent drew a land, they can play Doomscar and then play... Alright, so they didn't draw a tap land, or non-tap land, so I would probably play Doomscar here and then buy Yorion. Seems like the most likely scenario. So this dodges everything except for a Doomscar. So what do we think that the odds are that the opponent drew exactly a counterspell? Because if they didn't draw exactly counterspell, we can cast Emergent Ultimatum here. So I think I'm going to go for it and just make them have it. Wow, I can't believe it. They had exactly counterspell. That's crazy. What a top deck.
It was awful, you guys. It was so vicious and hateful.
So we remove the Yorian here, then we gain possession of the Archon, and it says whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 Pegasus, so then we can play Binding after we take away the Archon. I could have played Binding there, but there's no real point. And we beat Blue-White Control. Long games. But, like I said, game one usually won't go our way because we have so many dead cards between Shadow's Verdict, Extinction Event, Eliminate, Heartless Act. All of those are just dead cards, and I think that's like 10 or 11, 12 cards that we have that are dead, and then we can board in all these things that are super useful against them. We didn't draw a Maze Mind Tome till late, but this card's fantastic against, you know, grindy matchups. Is you just resolve it, and then you can sit there and draw cards every turn, which is a huge advantage. And so what we're able to do to the opponent is just outgrind them with valuable resources. So it's good. Good game. It's a good game overall. All right, so that's going to do it for me today. We're going to go see what Bad Hunter's up to today. And then I'll sign off. I'm going to pop back on tonight. I'm going to do some more of the Hades running if anyone's interested. I'm going to try to, as much as possible, start grinding down my time. I'm going to start a series called you know, Road to whatever, because I'm at 20 minutes right now. The world record is 7 minutes 32 seconds, so I'm going to try to progress my way and get good enough where we can do speed runs at that level. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in.
Goodbye,
thanks for the follows,
everybody.
thanks for the bits, thanks for everything.
I've got to go.
We're going to go say hi,
Gotta leave
and we'll catch
you
everyone later.
behind.